given it's close to Halloween, I was going to see costumes. And beyond the Sphinx Club, some of you guys disappointed. So next week, though, that's right. First and foremost, thanks for turning out. Really appreciate it. It's a privilege to be here with you. And it's exciting to spend this time. Before I get started, I want to say thank you to the Sphinx Club for the invitation. Thank you to President Hess, to the rest of the community, a lot of the faculty and staff that are here. I got to say hello to Professor Rogers. Always good seeing you and so many others. Related to that, I think you all have heard, that this is called Tuition Free Day. And to me, its reference and meaning is simple, that Wabash College is able to run from this day forward on the generosity of others. And that philanthropy is so important to this college, but not just this college, it's true for most universities and colleges around the country. To me, if I had to simplify what Tuition Free Day, if I had to share with you and tell it in a story, it reminds me of an old Southern Indiana story that I heard, which is, if you're ever going along the highway and you see a turtle sitting on top of a fence post, he probably didn't get there by himself. And to me, Tuition Free Day is a little bit of that. It is the generosity and thanks of others that has helped us get here. And as I was thinking about it, I thought that I could stand up here and I could talk about why giving back is so important to you, and I could point a finger that says, here's why you need to give back, and try and pound that into the ground a little bit. But I couldn't get past the thought of the questions that many of you may have in your minds as students, which is, why would I give back, especially if I'm loaded with student debt? And how can I if my future is so uncertain? Well, if you're one of those students who could care less about any old alum coming up here and sharing a story with you about how lucky you have it compared to those that came before you, take a deep breath and let out a deep sigh. You're not going to get that from me today. What I do want to share with you is why I love this college. This is a unique place. The lessons that we take from here, and what I think you will take from here, will last you forever. This place calls us in many different ways and inspires us to take many different paths as you graduate and you take on your new endeavors and journeys. What it means to be an alum is and will be very different than the person sitting next to you. Not everybody will have the same intent and experience. But as I reflect on the 4 years that I spent at Wabash College, it did more than prepare me for the challenges that I've faced in my life, whether it's personally or professionally. It has been both. Instead, it has been both a launching pad and a grounding influence. This is why I've titled this talk today, Whispers of the Past. In the next few minutes, I hope to share with you some examples that hopefully are relevant to you of what I believe the past whispers to us and what I hope we all can learn from it. There are so many individuals who have come before you and I to this place, and they've made it great, but they've also wrestled with challenges, and they've wrestled with many of the same questions many of you may face. In examining this, I think we can find the value of having a vision, the inspiration for the future, and the courage and grit to face what's ahead. 1832. Everybody that's here understands and knows the meaning of that year. It's not something that's lost on anyone. It was the year this college was established, and we've all heard the elements of the story of the men kneeling in the snow in the wilderness to create an institution that's aim was to educate men, and to educate men in a world that needed help, that needed vision. What the story leaves out, though, to me is some of the best parts. People like Hovey, Mills, and Baldwin, they traveled west to the middle of nowhere, to a place that may not appreciate or didn't even know the value of education at the time. and they established an enterprise that was unique to anything around it. What I would share with you is, can you imagine the vision that took to do that? They could see a world different than anybody else at that time, and they had the courage and the vision to act on it. They had a belief and purpose of what they were doing, and they believed that their vision could stand the test of time. The great news is, I think we all could agree that Wabash College has done just that. Just think about what we can learn and imagine their whispers. They started this college with just a few people and a few small cottages. And while I don't think anybody here would ever claim that Wabash College is a booming metropolis with skyscrapers, I think you can say that in comparison to the original cottages that established this place, their vision has lived on. Just think in comparison when you consider the Allen Center, or Hayes Hall, or Goodrich, or Baxter, or even the fraternity houses or dormitories. Look, they're 5/6 the time the size of the original cottages that founded this place. That takes vision. From a student population standpoint, we have grown exponentially. And while many of you and your friends that you talk to that do not go to Wabash College, they would say, why on earth do you go to school with only 900 other students? And why on earth would you want to go to school with only men? Think about it in comparison to this place starting with 4, 5, 6 students. There was no commitment or guarantee that they had the vision to live it out. I think if we had to pause and reflect on what the founding fathers of Wabash College are whispering to us, I think they'd share, don't fear the wilderness, or the fact that others may not fully understand your aim or your purpose, or what you're aiming to do in your life. I'm not sure, but if this has any meaning or relevance to you and where you are in your life right now, the great news is you're in the right place. If you struggle to make sense of what can be a chaotic world around you, Wabash College is where I would argue that you would want to be. And we owe great thanks and gratitude to those who have shaped it to what it has become today. Just as important as vision is for your life, so is courage. When I was a student here, I remember trying to write a paper on what I believe courage to be. In the typical Wabash way, what should have been a short and very easy essay turned out to be a long and arduous process as I engaged with professors, students, and friends about what courage meant to them and how they would define it. In the typical fashion, there was no single answer for that question. Some of you may ask today why I bring up courage and why I think it's important to generosity as we think about our college. To that, I'd highlight a movie that I've watched recently called Saving Private Ryan. I don't know who has or has not seen the movie Saving Private Ryan, but for those of you who don't, it's a story about a small band of soldiers in the height of World War II who have been given strict orders to march across Germany-controlled France and find a soldier, Private Ryan. The Defense Department has concluded a special detail is needed to find this soldier because Private Ryan's mother has lost 3 sons in battle. Tom Hanks plays the lead character, the captain leading the detail to find Private Ryan. What's interesting about this movie is that this small detail knows far less about Private Ryan than what they do know. They don't know what he looks like. They have no idea really where he might be. And they don't know if he is alive or dead. But yet this group of soldiers, this small detail, agrees to go on this mission. This leads one of the members of the detail to comment as they're marching across France to say, this Private Ryan better come up with a longer lasting light bulb, meaning simply, he better be worth this sacrifice. As the movie concludes, the detail ultimately does find Private Ryan. In the closing scenes, there's an epic battle between this small troop and the German army. And as you could imagine, the Tom Hanks character is wounded. And just before he is passing away, he grabs Private Ryan and he whispers to him, and it's soft, and he says, "Earn this." In the typical Wabash way, he doesn't define what earn this means. He doesn't say, you must become a millionaire, or go become a lawyer, or a doctor, or a titan of industry, or a school teacher. He doesn't say to Private Ryan, you must go donate huge sums of money in anyone's honor or memory. He simply says, earn this. The movie concludes with Private Ryan in old age, surrounded by his wife, his children, and his grandchildren. And I can't fully recall if they're at the Arlington National Cemetery or if they potentially are at Normandy at the grave locations there. But emotionally, Private Ryan reveals what earn this means to him. He whispers to his wife, have I led a good life? Have I been a good man? What a way to end the movie. I somehow think the lessons of it are relevant to some of you today, particularly if you're wrestling with enduring questions, such as, where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? And what do I want to do with my life? I would share with you, it takes courage to answer these questions. It takes even more courage to live out your conclusions. Inspiration. To me, inspiration is an indescribable element that gives purpose and meaning to our lives and drives us to do amazing things. William Penn, the founding father of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the founder of the University of Pennsylvania, and the planner and designer of the city of Philadelphia, was a man of high influence in the mid-1600s. He was a real estate entrepreneur, a philosopher, and eventually became a dedicated Quaker. There's a famous story, though, that I'd like to share about Penn. Because of his social status, he would wear a sword with his daily clothes wear. The sword was nothing more than a visual symbol of his social class and his social status. Today, I think that that's probably like having your own 700 series BMW or your own private jet to fly you wherever you want to go. Anyway, as Penn was going through his conversion to become a dedicated Quaker, he found that they were pacifists. That led him to a challenge. As he wore this sword, he was becoming more and more convinced that his life needed to be based upon the principles, the peaceful principles of the Quaker lifestyle. So he went to George Fox, the founder of the Quaker Society, and he asked him a question he had been struggling with. He asked him simply, should I keep my sword? And what we know is that this was a private conversation. And I think we could all imagine what that answer may have been. I somehow think that Fox probably whispered his answer, but we know his answer was simple. He said, keep the sword as long as you can. I love that answer. He didn't tell him what to do. He didn't give him strict direction. He said, keep it as long as you can. I think somehow that each of us go through life dealing and working through so many unresolved questions, and that there are so few true and absolute answers. But we all are searching for inspiration. As members of this community and as a student body, I'd ask, what inspires you? And I would encourage you all to wrestle with that. But what are you willing to give up in order to lead the life that you're aiming to achieve? For Penn, it became clear that his life was less about status and it became far more about the purpose to educate others, to establish a society on the beliefs that were important to him. The result of his life has been an enormous one, not just with the founding of a state or the founding of a city that had particular significance to this country, but just think about all the people who have come and gone through the University of Pennsylvania. It's likely that they all could say that he left the world a little bit better off than he found it. And speaking of that, leaving the world a little bit better off than you found it, an item I'd like to talk a little bit about is grit. I'm sure some of you would ask, what does grit have to do with anything? And why would I highlight it as part of a message about the importance of being a student and alumnus of this college? I would turn and ask you at some point to take a look at the state seal of the state of Indiana. It tells a story if you look at it. It shows a great deal of our heritage. The seal itself, if I try to bring it to life for you, it shows an Abraham Lincoln type character with a big axe aiming to chop down a tree. You can't tell in the background if the sun is setting or if it's rising. So you're unsure if this person is working late into the evening or if he is working just before dawn in the morning. What it also shows is that it's a rural area. There are no planes or buildings. There are no cities. There's a prairie in the background, and there's a buffalo jumping over a log. However, there's a Latin inscription at the bottom of the state seal. And my Latin isn't that good, so I'm going to just translate it directly in English. And it reads, that he is planted better than the fallen. In other words, he is preparing and leaving behind something better than what he found. Or maybe slightly different, is that the future is brighter than what the current present shows. I'd share that to have that vision and to have that view takes grit. It's the ability to battle through tough times and challenges. It's the ability to set a goal and put everything into it to achieve it. It's the idea that every person in this room can have a dream and then work with such vigor, passion, and discipline to reach it. That takes grit. If there ever was a culture to me that embodied grit, I would say it's the culture and environment of Wabash College. This is the place that challenges you to see the beauty in the world that you have not yet noticed or realized. And at the same time, it pushes you so hard that you are guaranteed to have successes, but even more so, you are guaranteed to face failure. It does that in the classroom. It does that in the fraternity house. It does it in the theater. It does it in the chemistry lab. It does it in the dorm. It ensures that you experience both the triumph of victory and the lessons of defeat. I'd share that once you have grit, nobody can ever take it from you. The whispers of grit from faculty, students, and alumni fill this place. They are all around us. They challenge you to do more and to do better, to learn from mistakes, and go after your dreams. If there was one thing I could share with you as an alum of this college and someone who was in your shoes just a few years ago, it is to embrace the moments that you have that forces you to grind through things, whether it's an individual exercise or it's some type of community or team challenge. I would share with you it's a characteristic that will serve you well. As I conclude, I just share how grateful I am for the time that you've allowed me to have today. Being an alumnus and member of the Wabash community, to me, has always been a special, special thing. This is a place that you can use as a launching pad for your life, for your career, and it helps you establish the principles that you want to live by. I hope that if anything, I can share with you that being an alum of this college isn't about a single definition. To be honest with you, I think it's much more than that. As you've probably heard, the National Association of Wabash Men and so many others, our alumni office, they have a commitment called Wabash for Life. That's not to scare anybody in this room, and it's not to make you feel like you've got chains on your hands and ankles whenever you leave this place. But it's to let you know that you have an opportunity and you have a community to engage in, no matter if you're in the far reaches or corners of this earth, if you stay here in Crawfordsville, and it doesn't matter what you choose to do as a profession, it will always be a place that welcomes you. To do that, I would encourage each of you, all of you sitting here, to listen to the whispers of the past. I somehow think that sometimes that we'll find that we all have to kneel in the snow and see a vision that others do not. That we must have the courage to earn sacrifices. That there are times in our lives that we have to give up our swords for our principles. And that no matter what we do or where we are in our lives, we must find ways to plant better than what's fallen. So I'd ask, what whispers to you? Could it be the music or the rhetoric classes you're in? Could it be fraternal brotherhood? Could it be the athletics that you're involved in? Could it be the chemistry lab or the political science or economics courses? Could it be a professor or a teammate? For some, it may be the bell. And it could be the glory of victory and defeat that come with that. For me, I would just share, it's always been about the people that this place has exposed me to. I think some of you have learned that my wife and my family, we have the opportunity to move from Indianapolis to Shanghai, China. We're quite excited about the challenge and the opportunity ahead. But I would share with you the thing that of the things that we're going to take with us, that some of the things that are the most important will be the people and the relationships here. I could point to you, and many of you all know people like Tom Runge. He's treated me with such class and dignity when he knew me as a freshman on this campus, when he had no idea if I was ever going to amount to anything or if I'd ever be able to help this college out in any way. Treated me first class from day one. We could point to professors. I pointed out Professor Rogers, who has become just a dear friend and somebody who is so dedicated to educating men at this college. It's what makes this place special. I'll tell you, Sherry Ross is first class through and through. You can go anywhere in the world, and I think that you'll reflect back and be able to point back to some of these people that they are first class on any corner of the planet. So to me, that's one of the things we'll take with us are the people. But perhaps if you have not yet experienced what calls you today, I'd ask you to open your eyes and open your hearts to all that surrounds you. You don't have to be a titan of industry or the managing partner of anything, of any company, of any law firm, to engage and want to be connected to Wabash College. Listen, though, for what the whispers of this place tell you. And I would encourage you to be enlightened and pass it on. This has been so much fun to come here and spend just a few minutes sharing just a few thoughts with you about being an alum and what I think some of the key lessons are related to it. I would tell you that I think you have such a unique opportunity ahead of you, whether it's what you're learning in class or what you're aiming to do as a college community. You have a unique opportunity to embrace our new president, which you've all done so well, but to be a part of shaping and establishing the vision that he and you all have together for this place. I know that one of the things that we're aiming to do today is on your way out, you'll have the opportunity to grab a bank. And it's a symbol of the commitment that many others in the alumni have generally made. But I would share with you, don't look at this bank as just purely something to put change in. It's not just about that. The message today isn't just about what you can give back or why it's important to give back to this college. The message is it's an opportunity to engage. It's an opportunity to challenge yourself and others. It's an opportunity to find a new network that maybe you didn't think exists. And I think that approximately 6 weeks from now, you'll have the opportunity to turn those banks back in. And when you do that, hopefully many of you, and the majority of you here, will participate in that. Anyway, thank you all so very much for this time. Hopefully I've had a chance to share something that is relevant to just some of you. Thank you very much.